When people told themselves their past with stories, explained the present with stories, foretold the future with stories. The best place by the fire was kept for the storyteller.
Huh, howdy. Didn't think y'all would come back so soon. You just wanted to find me to tell you another story, didn't you? Well, pull up a chair and lend an ear. 'Cause you got time to spare, and I've got stories for you. If and you ask folks around these parts, most of us say that no one likes stories half as much as old Jed. But there was many a fellow long before me who specialized in gathering and telling tall tales. Folks like the Brothers Grimm, Charles Perrault, Andrew Lang, and folks like that. And there was somebody a lot before any of them who was all about stories. A little spider from West Africa by the name of Anansi. Now once, there were no stories. I mean, I would have been in a lot of trouble back then. But most folks, I'm guessing, didn't really care. All except one tricky little fella. Probably because he was kinda bored. But his name was Anansi the Spider. One day he went to the sky god Nian Kanpan. With a please and thank you, he asked to buy stories from the sky god. The sky god said he would, but he asked for 4 things. Well, not so much things, more like folks. He asked for Onini the python, Osebo the leopard, Moasha the fairy, and Maboro the hornet. I'm so sorry if I got these names wrong, by the way. Anyway, if our spidery friend could snag him, he could have the stories. Anansi went around capturing what he wanted. First on his list was the python, resting in the trees. Now the snake ain't like the one from Garden of Eden. He was a vain sort. And Anansi knew that. So he made like he was arguing with his wife Aso about whether or not the python was longer than a palm branch. Naturally, the python overheard that and said he could settle it. He laid on the palm branch to try and prove it. And Anansi tied him to the branch and took him to the sky god. Next up was the leopard. Since this fellow was more of the ornery sort, Anansi had to be more clever. So he dug a hole and got the leopard to fall into it. Anansi offered to help him out, but it was with his webs. Once the leopard was out, he was all tangled up in them. And with that, Anansi carried him to the sky god. Then Anansi had to get to the hornets. To do that, he hollowed out a gourd and called out that it was raining. He suggested that the hornets hide in the empty gourd. And when they obliged, he quickly sealed them in. Not the smartest of bugs, yeah, but still. Finally was the trickier one, the fairy. But Anansi saved his best trick for last. He made a doll that looked just like a fairy and covered it in a sticky gum. He then put under the tree where the fairies played and put some foo-foo in front of it. When some fairies came, they ate the foo-foo, but the doll didn't answer. Considering this is bad manners, they made a strike at it and got their hands stuck to him for their trouble. And that's how Anansi captured them too. And so Anansi returned to the sky god with his gains. When he saw them, he was mighty impressed. And so he gave his blessing. From now on, I present my stories to you. Now it won't just be sky god stories, but rather spider stories. And so stories don't just belong to a single person. They belong to everyone now, and I've got reason to come by here. And it's not because of a great warrior or a king, but because of an itty-bitty spider who used what he was given. When you think y'all are out of your element, facing against something impossible, remember, we can tell stories because of a spider. Now, wasn't that a story worth telling? Well, I've monopolized enough of your time. Best be on your way. Don't worry though, I'll be right here.